Hello everyone, that's me, Jacob Bernard, and today I am going to talk about procurement approvals here at Quicken Loans. So, the issue we have are the bottlenecks of waiting on approvals and having no power in the decisions or business needs of purchases in Quicken Loans procurement. So, to better describe all of this, I'm going to lay out a typical purchase order process, and I'm going to include everything except for what happens after approvals have been done and we go to send over the purchase order and everything that's handled afterwards cost wise with the vendor. So, need and want. This is where the process begins and where our first bottlenecks occur. So, bottlenecks that occur during these phases could be: what is it, how much is it, who is it for, and why do we need it? Oftentimes, when you submit a request, this information is highlighted that you need to put it in, but oftentimes it isn't. So we run into the issue of tracking down a better description of what it is, an actual cost of how much it is, who is it for, so what team is going to use it, not just what person is going to use it, and then an overall need of why it's needed. And oftentimes the why it's needed is just something like, oh, it'll help us do this. But we need to know more like, why isn't what you're doing now working? Why will this help it? So after that comes preparing the purchase order. And this is by far the longest process and where the most bottlenecks occur. So we run into bottlenecks when we try to find business areas involved. So if it's purchase for software, we need to get legal involved. We need to get risk involved. We need to get information security involved. We need to get other developers involved. And it's just back and forth communication, figuring things out. Then we need to engage the supplier and we need to run assessments back and forth with them and figure something out from there if we want to use it. Then, once we decide, hey, we want to go ahead and use this, negotiations, because we want to try to save money, so we don't want to just pay the full price right away if we don't have to. Then, once we agree on negotiations, we run into the final cost. So, once we have a final cost, pending approval. This is where we submit the purchase order for approval. So all required information is gathered. We think we're ready to purchase. You submit it for approval, and then you start to question, are we ready for that? So to better describe where this holdup goes is this graph. So this graph was created by taking all the Sharewell requests and averaging out their start time to their end time with the tasks updated in between. So these are approximate. However, the biggest bottleneck is preparing the PO with 55%, but that's a given because that's the most steps that are involved. But this 40% of pending approvals is unnecessary. It shouldn't be that long just waiting on someone to say, okay, all the work's been done. We're going to go ahead and go ahead, buy it. There's no reason that should be 40%. But it is. And oftentimes it's because if the purchase, depending on the amount, it has to go from person to person to person before, so like one leader sees it and that leader has to approve it before the next two can see it. So you run into issues because it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't just be an email that gets sent to someone saying, oh, hey, this is here, go approve it. So, how can we eliminate all these bottlenecks? So, solutions include an ERP system, better communication, and having target dates, and then more than one plan. So, you need all of these. You can't just have one. An ERP system will keep track of everything, everyone. So, it can force people to enter descriptions. It can force them to say who it's for and a description of why it's needed. You can make them have to enter so many characters, other things like that. Better communication. The system will allow all the teams to communicate with each other. It'll be able to send updates and give those target dates that we need. And then also there just needs to be a better plan for what if the process we have doesn't work, because every situation is different and sometimes you will need more than one plan.